Matthew chapter 14, verses 28 through 33. Here we go. He's just said to them, "Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid." And that's what we talked about last week. Peter said to him, verse 28, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And Jesus said, "Come." Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But seeing the wind, he became frightened and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand, took hold of him, and said to him, "You little faith, why did you doubt?" When they got into the boat, the wind stopped. And those who were in the boat, worshiped him, saying, "You are certainly God's Son." Now, my first thought is, when they're saying, "You are certainly God's Son," it is the same group of people that were in the boat the last time when he was sleeping. And he calmed the waves and calmed the wind, stopped the storm, and saved their life the last time. And here they are again in a boat, and he's not with them. And they see him coming on the water, passing them by. They cry out to him. And he says, "It's me, don't be afraid." Just told all of them, including Peter, "Don't be afraid." And Peter says, "Lord, if it's you, bid me come." And I think that, my first thought was, Peter, you don't recognize him? But then I thought, man, that's a bummer thing to say about Peter, because how many times in my own life has he tried jumping jacks in front of me, throwing meteors at me, sending fires my way, sending recessions my way, sending things my way where I refused to see his hand because I wanted something different. And then I thought about you. How many times in your life have you refused to see that it's him acting in your life, doing something incredible? Most of us have probably missed a few good things because we just flat refused to accept that it's him. And so maybe we shouldn't pick on Peter so much, because after being with Jesus for years, seeing all these things, he says, "If it's you." I think most of us could probably relate to that. I think all of us should relate to it. But I think, knowing from where I sit, how many times my counsel is to the same person over and over, why don't we just trust Jesus? Why don't we just do what he wants us to do? And, it's kind of like throw caution to the wind or let the chips fall where they may and all the other metaphors. Why don't we just trust him and see what happens? Why don't we just listen to what he says and do that? I remember a time I picked up a book in a cabin I was in Wilsonville, Oregon. It was Francis Chan, Crazy Love, and I'd never heard of it. Vaguely heard of him. It was 4 years ago. And I read the first 2 chapters and started crying, because in it, he says, why don't we just read what Jesus says and do it? Amen. And it just felt like it'd been so long since anybody said, why don't we just read what Jesus says and do it? I thought, oh my gosh. And it's just such an uncommon thing. Why don't we just do what he says? And Peter says, if it's you, command me to come and I will. I've worked many altars, prayed with many people who would say in the day of trouble, whatever he tells me to do, I'll do it. Playwriters have written so many plays about, do what I ask you and I'll do anything. I'll serve you the rest of my life. Get me out of this mess and I'll be yours. I bet you many of you have said that at times, maybe facing sentencing, or get me out of this and I'll serve you. Give my life to you. Peter says, command me and I'll come. And I thought, man, I relate to that too. So I relate to not seeing it's God, not seeing it's the Lord, not recognizing Jesus. I relate to, in the middle of a storm I'm about to die in, saying, please rescue me. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And Peter comes. So the next thing in the story is Peter walking on water. Peter walking on water, not Jesus. Peter walking on water, a fisherman, become disciple of Jesus Christ, walking on water, doing it. Most of the time I hear Peter called impetuous Peter because he says dumb things or something. I hear he denied Christ, the failure. But let me tell you one, on this day, he's walking on water. This day, tell me what to do and I'll do it, and he does it. And he walks on water. I know an awful lot of people who can't do the basic things that Jesus says because they can't trust him. Now, he looked at the wind and got his eyes on the wind, and it says he got frightened. Did you read that? And he began to sink. Most of us here, maybe we didn't look at the wind because we know the wind is invisible, or the results of the wind or whatever. We've looked at something like wind, and we began to sink. But let's not lose track of the fact that for a moment he walked on water. And I think the implication in this story is that he could have walked on water continually. He could have kept walking on water. Jesus didn't end the walking on water. It wasn't Jesus' idea to stop him. It wasn't Jesus who told him, hey, look at the wind, aren't you afraid? Dude! What's going to happen to you out away from the boat? You're in an ocean. What if the wind blows the boat away? You're standing on water. It wasn't Jesus who said that to him. But I think of how many of you have talked to somebody in your life who said, when are you going to start looking out for yourself? When are you going to worry about your education? What are you going to do for your children's education? What are you putting aside? What are you doing? Are you teaching your children the scriptures? Are you? Can they quote them? Are you playing the Bible for your babies while they sleep? Come on, man. Are you failing or what? Oh, no, I'm not. I play it 25 hours, but I probably should have done 26. Where's the end? Are you fasting? Are you doing water only? You know. Man, we're walking on water here. What do you want to talk about wind and waves and all this other stuff for? We're in the midst of a miracle. He's proved it's him. He's commanded us to do something. We're doing it. And Dad calls to say, when are you going to get a job, son? What do I need one of those for? How are you going to take care of tomorrow? I'm walking on water. I mean, it's very much like that in my life. One guy left my church one time, mad as heck. Came in the door just, oh man, this is the greatest thing there ever was. I want to be involved in everything. But then a woman grabbed the microphone, and he had to leave because women can't be on the microphone. And I said, okay, so we have a disagreement about women on the microphone. But where in here do you see anything about Jesus saying the criteria of faithfulness or walking on water is women on the microphone? Isn't it faith? Look around the church and see what we're doing. And don't you see some of the things he said were more important, like feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, inviting the strangers in? Bandaging the wounds of the wounded, healing the past, encouraging the future. Don't you see love around here? Oh, yeah. That's what made me so happy. But there's no way I'm going to abide with this disobedience of giving women microphones. I really think, buddy, you're in a position to cry out to Jesus, save me, because you're missing it. And if you fasted 7 days, why haven't you done 8? And if you fasted 8, why haven't you done 9? And if you take that out of the hands of women, why aren't you taking it out of the hands of all blondes? Or anyone bigger than 6 foot? Or anyone shorter than 5 foot? Why stop there? Redheads, you don't get to be on the mic anymore. Why stop there? How far do we take this? Instead, why don't we back up, get our eyes off the wind, all the crap blowing around in the wind, and just do what he commanded us, to love one another. And once we're impressed with that, I think we're walking on water. In that day, my Father will gather all of the people together, and he will hold a Bible memory contest. Those who know the most and those who have known the most, the longest, will get to go in. But the rest of you, soddy choddy, no way. Out. What is it we're looking at? I think so often we just take our eyes off. Wait, I don't look like everybody else. I think you need to cry out, save me, Jesus. What is it I'm looking for? I'm now of an age and have raised a family, grandkids coming through, to see the results of what I decided 40 years ago. I decided quite a few things. I look at the results of those decisions, and I know where they came from. One of them was I gave up my own sports and played them sparingly, only once in a while. And my life was all about sports. All my self-worth was how good I was, and I was good. All my attaboys came from sports. Another was I quit telling bosses off, which I mean I told them off bad. I used bad words. And I just quit. In fact, the man that taught me how to build houses, the most information and the most ability that made me stand out amongst people who worked in my trades was the foulest, rudest human being ever. And I never rebelled, and I never told him off. The day he fired me, because I was a youth pastor and he hated Christians, I thanked him for everything he taught me. I just decided I'm not going to be that guy anymore. I'm not going to look at protection of myself or what he says about me anymore. I'm not going to take offense from bosses. My career soared in house building. I just decided not to look at what I used to look at. I remember thinking, this guy's going to hell if I don't demonstrate something to him. And so I preached Jesus. I refused to enter into the sexual craziness that they talked about on that job site, the foul things they called people. Continued to speak about Jesus, making them mad at me. But I believe later on in my life, I heard that his son became a Christian. And he was the worst guy on the job site. I was always having to pull him off some little guy he was trying to beat up. Foul human being. But I was going to be Jesus. I'm going to keep my eyes on Jesus. And I've had a chance in these 40 years to see that my principles worked. How I would be towards my wife. How I would be towards my children. Where I would place my ministry. At the time, I heard 100 sermons saying that your ministry is important, but you got to forsake it for your family because they're more important. I said, I just don't see that. And I've now had my 40 years. My oldest daughter is very close to 40, coming up. 38? 38, right? Going to turn 38? Yeah. Should know that right off the top of my head, shouldn't I? Shouldn't even have to do the math. 81 to... Shouldn't. You follow me? Anyway, it's been a long time. And you get to see how these things work out. And you get to see other people who are saying all these other things, and I don't want to say them because I don't want to hurt you or offend you. But I want you to know. Some things work and some things don't. And just because everybody's saying this works, shouldn't we just read what Jesus says and do those things? It sounds easy, doesn't it? Love one another. Can't we just all get along and love one another? The problem is you people have a lot of quirks that are irritating. So this can't we get along becomes kind of a challenge just by itself. Can't you love one another? I wish so. I want to. I'm trying. If you find the perfect church, please don't go to it. You will wreck it. So you're pretty good right here amongst all of us with our little quirks and edges. And get busy working on not being irritated by the quirks and edges. Just decide, I'm not going to be offended. I'm going to quit being a victim. I'm going to start going in and doing what Jesus says and loving the unlovable. If you feel the calling to love the unlovable, you are in the perfect place to fulfill your calling. Because we can be some unlovable people. And we are loving each other better than any place I've ever seen. And he said that. Shouldn't we just listen to him? Here's one. Give to any man that asks of you. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. There's lions in the street. We can't go out there and do that one. We'd all have nothing. Well, let me just ask you something. If there's 115 people in the crowd today, and I decide to give to any man that asks, I only have so much. But I got 115 of you given to me. And one of me giving only so much. That's all I got. Who wins here? Where does it cost me to live a life in a community of people giving of themselves? When you believe what Jesus says about the standard being all, give all, not 10%, but all. Just think about that. You live in an abundant world. It's always wonderful. I remember Devin Fiddler. I love Devin stories and I love Devin examples. They're really good. Devin came here and I went ahead and paid him $25 a month to be here because he had nothing. I made him park he had a car that looked like it had fallen off the back of the garbage truck. And I refused to let him park it at the church. So we had to find a place to park it. It had a camper made of plywood scraps. I don't know what it was, an El Camino or something. Was it something like an El Camino, a car truck thing? Yeah, it looked hideous. It didn't run anyway, so it was useless. So we just pushed it somewhere, put it at the bottom of a creek or something. I don't know where. We did not. I just said, you're not parking it here. That thing's ugly. Found him sleeping in an alley. Invited him in, gave him a place to live, gave him $25 a week to work around here. And free rent. And it wasn't very long before he went to Washington, I think it was, to visit Jeremy, who was living in Washington at the time. And he got back and he said to me, I have never been on a trip before. That was amazing. What? I've never been on a trip. I've never gone anywhere. I kind of forgot that until later when he had been on a cruise and he had gone somewhere else. And he had told me my dream car is a Monte Carlo SS. Scoop, the scoop in the back and all that. I'm thinking, I have a lot of dream cars, not one of them's a Monte Carlo. But that was his. He told me. Exact car he wanted. And a few months later, he owned that car. And it was a beauty. And he made $25 a month. And he bought into what I was telling him. Shouldn't we just give? Shouldn't we just love and make our love for Jesus look like something? Shouldn't we just do what he says? Jesus says, come, and Peter called it a command. Command me to come. Come. So when he said come, Peter took it as a command. When he says, anyone who would come after me must first deny themselves, I take it as a command, not a suggestion. And I am not that good at following that command. I find myself sinking regularly. But I've gotten better at denying myself over the years. And I've been able to see the results of self-denial versus self-accumulation. Self-accumulation, I lost everything. Self-denial, everything came to me. Seeking first the kingdom, all these things were added to me. Seeking first all these things, and I lost the kingdom. Are you following me? He says, come. Peter comes. People, he's walking on water. I look around my life. I'm walking on water. Oh, I can step off the edge of my pool, and I do go to the bottom, I promise. I've yet to go across the pool without sinking. That's not, what good would that do me? I have really good body. I can walk around the pool. It's no loss that I can't walk across my pool. But in life, I can walk across water. I mean, equal. Metaphor, equal. My life is like a miracle. I was about to say nobody gives me a paycheck, but I went on Social Security 4 months ago. Now I get a paycheck. But, I'm old. Yeah. And I've seen the bread. I've seen the loaves and fishes in my life where God takes care of me. And I live better now than when I used to make a lot of money. Sorry, I just do. I walk on water. I'm walking on water, and I'm not taking my eyes off who's supplying that. I'm not going to tell you, I'm very wise. I'm a genius, and I'm able to make a lot of money. Oh, no. I try to eject my money as fast as I can because I want to make sure I'm right where Jordy just said. I will crash. He won't be able to save me from sinking. It'll be so fast. I'll be one of those guys with an anchor tied to my feet, and he won't grab my hand because it'll be gone the minute I get out there on my own. Every once in a while, someone says, who do you follow? And I said, well, number one person, the number one human element that I follow is this church, my responsibility to this church. I follow them. They come into my staff meeting and says, we're going to do a gift of hope. Oh, no. You know how much, how tired that's going to make us? Me? Us? Let's go. I follow them. I trust them. I live my life based on what's good for them. I listen to them. They lead me. They guide me. So back to deny yourself. Pick up your cross. Well, can we leave that out? Deny yourself. Follow him. That didn't sound as good. That didn't sound right. Deny yourself. Pick up your cross. Follow him. Oh, no. There's crosses to bear that are mine to bear. I wonder if I will be as good at cross carrying, where I will look at people and bless them in the journey, where I will look at people and say, behold, I make all things new, right in the middle of my cross carrying. I say, he is good right in the middle of my cross carrying. I say, he loves me right in the middle of going to Calvary with my cross. Shouldn't we just listen to what he says and do it? He says to Peter, why did you doubt? Why did you fear that I couldn't take care of you? I know some of you, you've got good reason to fear. You've never trusted him. But I've stood in front of you now here at the Father's house for 20 years, and before that another 20 or more. I've been preaching the gospel for so long, a lifetime now. And I've seen the hand of the Lord in my life so many ways and so many days and so many blessings. I look back on what others would call bad days. My business is failing, my house burning down, the diagnoses twice of leukemia in my granddaughter. Just all the different disappointments that you would say are bad. And I look back and I see the blessings in them. And I know that in the midst of those storms, I walked on water. In the midst of those trials, I stood strong. And I know I can trust him. He has taken care of me. He has abundantly taken care of me. So if you find me not trusting in him, I'm kind of like, that would be like Peter a little bit, because he's already seen the storm calmed. Jesus gets in the boat, the wind stops, and then they say, you are definitely the Son of God. Now you believe? That's kind of how I would be. I'd probably be more like them. If you saw me doubting, fearing, looking at the wind, that would be like them. And I know some of you have that same affliction where you've already seen him come through. You've already seen him have power over the elements. You've already seen him take care of you when there was no explanation for him taking care of you. You've seen him get you where you needed to be when you didn't even know where you needed to be or how you should get there. And yet, you look at it. Someone says, you don't have to do what they say. Okay. A young woman said to me, I said, you haven't been at church lately. She said, well, it's my only day to sleep. I said, well, come back in 18 years and tell me how that worked with your son. If time on earth is really coming to a judgment, really coming to a decision day, enter into my rest, my good and faithful servant, or depart from me, then my number one, wow, that was close. My number one goal in this life is to get my children, my grandchildren, those who listen to me, to be entered in to his rest. When they were babies, I could make a lot of mistakes. But if I set a pattern in my life, where will they be? How will this affect them? If I continually sink, if the next time I try to walk on water, this Peter guy, he made a couple more faux pas. He did a couple more things. But the building blocks of this, the building blocks of him seeing these things and doing these things was amazing. You and I, from this guy that sank, you and I owe our faith to him. The legacy of his life and death, having been bound when he grew old and taken where he did not want to go, to a hill to be crucified in the same way that Jesus was crucified, where he said, I am not worthy to be crucified like Jesus. Please crucify me upside down, for I cannot be killed like Jesus was killed. I am unworthy. And this is the man who sank this day. First he walked on water, then he sank, and then he walked on water. And I walk on water largely because of what he preserved for us. Paul the Apostle started preaching Jesus. Peter went to him to find out, are you preaching right? Put him to the test. You preach right. and I'll bless you. And he blessed him. So, they finally decided he was God. You are certainly God's son. I have finally and forever decided. I had one of those moments at an altar where I decided he's real. I should follow him. And I would like to encourage you to follow him. You're not sure it's him? If it's you, command me and I'll do it. And then do it. Quit playing games. Let's say you've done that and you've looked at the circumstances, the wind, and you've sank. Cry out to him. He will save you. He will. And just because that's happened doesn't mean you can't one day be the hero of the faith that you want to be. It doesn't mean that one day you can't be full of grace and glory. Your goal maybe is to heal the sick, raise the dead. Just because you're sinking today doesn't mean that you can't become that. Commanding demons, whatever your goal is. You may simply just want to deliver your children to faith. I remember some of the things, most important things in delivering my children to faith. I live in a time where very few pastors, very few, do all their children believe in Jesus. All of my children believe in Jesus. I know my way works. You could come to me and I would tell you that way. Many don't make it 40 years with an ecstatically happy marriage. I have an ecstatically happy marriage. You could follow me and I could show you that. You should ask the Lord, is this you? I have been a great success financially with no money and with lots of money both. You could come to me and I would tell you how to do that. You could ask the Lord, is it you? If it's you, bid me come, and I will. I have great failures too, and I could tell you about those so that you would not have to go through those or fail. So what I want you to do is I just want you to ask the Lord where those areas of your life are, where you're seeing the circumstances, where maybe someone has called you and told you to look at the wind, where you're walking on water, where your faith is soaring and something caused you to sink. And just ask the Lord what that is. Cry out to him this morning. Look for him. Look for him in the wind. Look for him in the storm. Look for him in your fear. And let him grab your hand. And make the same declaration that he is certainly the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Give your heart to him again today. Renounce those things that are causing you fear. People are asking you, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You're doing it wrong. And if it was the Lord that called you there, go for it. Do it. Rise up and move into it. Bow your heads and close your eyes and ask the Lord. Ask the Lord. Where in your life you've looked at the wind? Your fear of germs, your fear of finances, your fear of loneliness, all the things that, your fear of the pain and the ache in your soul that you've got to anesthetize or you've got to take care of, your fear of betrayal by those that love you, your fear of being misunderstood. The wind is blowing. It has so many options. It'll offer you better than a supermarket. It will offer you anything you want that'll get you to be afraid and cause you to take your eyes off the fact that he has commanded you, come. Walk on water. Walk on your troubles. Walk over your fear and find peace that passes understanding, joy unspeakable, full of glory. He gives grace to the humble. Humble yourself before him and ask him what it is he would have you do. Trust in him. Maybe just to reiterate or restate your trust in him. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Would you let him speak to you? Would you bow your head? Would you close your eyes? Would you let him speak to your heart? Would you let him show you the way? Would you let him reveal to you that he is certainly God? That he is certainly your Lord, who will save you, will rescue you? Will you do that? Does he have what you need, what you want? Would you come to him? Would you move from where you are right now and come to him at the altar? Would you come to the altar? Move towards him to get what you want, to give what you have away, to deliver you from your fear, to be freed from your fear. Would you come to the altar? Was that what you would do? Would you go so far as to surrender yourself to him? Would you go so far as to humble yourself before him? Cry out to him for mercy. Would you do something other than recognizing it and actually move from where you are to where you're going? Get out of the boat and move to him. But don't look at the wind. Don't worry about what's going to happen if you surrender, that he's going to take something from you or cause you to go where you don't want to go. Cause you to give up what you don't want to give up. Oh, he does. He asks for things. He does. We surrender all to you, Lord. Here I am, Lord, take me. Command me and I will come. Send me and I will go. Can you say that to him? Can you offer your life to him? Cry out to him for help and grab his hand. Can you do that today? Sitting in church won't make you a Christian any more than sitting in McDonald's will make you a hamburger. You have to get up and go for it. You have to drop your nets and come to him. You have to step away from your tax table and come to him. You have to walk away from your sin and sin no more. You got to move towards him and surrender your life to him. To be his disciple, you got to deny yourself. Yes, Lord. I pray, Holy Spirit, that you would do a transforming work in all of us, in every soul who responded to you in desire. Bid me come, Lord. If it's you, I want to know it's you. Maybe you've got two roads ahead of you. Ask him, is it you, Lord? And go to the road that he's on. Whatever road he's on, get on that road. Whatever door he's going through, go through that door. Whatever way he's on, go on that way. Ask him, is it you, Lord? Whatever town he's telling you, live in that town. Whatever church he's telling you, go to that church. Is it you, Lord? Is it you, Lord? Command me to come and I will come. Tell me it's you and I will come after you. I'll be there with you, even to the end of the age. My eyes on the prize. And it's you. You're my prize. You're my prize. Everlasting Father, you are my prize. Blessed be your holy name. Yes, Lord. Holy Spirit, we ask for a greater level of your anointing today. Come right now, Lord. Come right now in Jesus' name. Come, Lord. Come, Lord. Touch every soul, everyone who is called out to you. Touch them, Lord. Touch them, Lord. Yes, Lord. Father, I pray for every soul who hears your word and responds to it, who sees you in the storm and calls out to you. For every person who puts their trust in you here today, Lord, I pray that your Holy Spirit would seal in them the decision to surrender to you, cry out to you. Some days you walk on the water and some days you sink because of the fear. And have to cry out, save me. But we just pray, Lord, that you would help us get it right. Help us stay in it. Help us not sink. But not be people of little faith, but people who believe. Help us, Lord.